Good morning. Good morning. Just getting set up to get started. All right, where are we at here? Gotta get my reference up, I guess. Huh? Would be a good idea. All right. Let's see. We left off starting to work on this figure. All right. Let me start with that hand. All right. Let's paint on that brush. Mm-hmm. Come on, pen, brush. Let's grab our paint. Get a drawing in here. Good morning. Let's see. There we go. Good morning. Yeah. Mm. Hmm. Let's see. All right. All right. That goes in. Good morning. Hello, hello. Good morning. All right, where's that jacket? There you are. Good morning. All right, got the hand in there, I think. It's a good starting spot. All right. All right. Good morning. All right. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. All right, this stuff should be up here. All right. All right. Much better here. Good morning. Let's see. Good morning. How are we doing? Just that angle, right? Kind of working on this foreground stuff yesterday and today. Good morning. Hmm. Good morning. All right, where's my little robot arm? There you are. Ah, there's a bot. Over on the Twitch. Let's see, where'd it go? All right, good. go. Good morning. Let's see. All right, let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, good morning. Appreciate that. It's a nice quiet morning over here, apparently. I got up a little bit early, so I was like, hey, let's get started early. Um, Working on the foreground stuff yesterday and today, so I worked a lot on the background. And now we're working on foreground stuff, so. Let's see. Got my drawing up in front of me on my iPad up there. You sure let other people know. Twitch is kind of weird with discovery, right? Where it's hard to be discovered on Twitch to a certain degree. But yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I probably was at the bottom of the list, right? My largest audience is over on Instagram, but I don't know that Instagram's like optimal place to live stream on. Like I've got 48,000 followers over there. Um, but so that's where the bulk of my audience is, right? Instagram. Yeah, I am on YouTube, I am on Kick, and I am on DLive. DLive, though, decided I was streaming porn or something because they like gave these content warnings, and I wasn't doing anything at all. I think maybe they thought my thumb was something. I don't know what was going on, but they decided I was doing something naughty, so they basically shadow banned me completely over there. Like their bot told me they were shadow banning me. Like we are no longer putting your stuff up on the front page. I'm like, oh, well, there we go. So yeah, I am YouTube. It's all the same ID: YouTube, Twitch, and uh, DLive, Kick, and then Instagram all at the same time. Yeah, I know. Well, it wasn't even this painting. It was a different one where like there wasn't anything at all. There wasn't even a belly button. And there wasn't any leg. You know, it was all pretty. It was all pretty vanilla. So it's like it's online stuff. You got to be somewhat careful what you put up, just because they're trying to keep things attractive to their advertisers, which I understand. But you know, so I'm not upset that they have some types of content restriction, but so yeah, I mean, like I'm using nude reference. It's up in front of me, but I'm not putting that on the screen. I mean, these are basically what I've been doing is I've been kind of reassessing my relationship with acrylic paint, and so but yeah, but basically I haven't done that much acrylic painting in basically 20 years until recently. I used it as a student a lot when I was in my undergrad program, and um, I didn't like it. So, it felt weird. I didn't understand really how it worked. And so I just basically dropped it for 20 years. I didn't bother. I liked oil painting and gouache and even watercolor, um, etc. And yeah, I am on the East Coast. So I am out. Actually, I'm a university professor at Virginia Commonwealth University. So, um, and today is a teaching day. So I don't have classes till the afternoon. Um, but yeah, but yeah, so that's part of the reason why I had to kind of reevaluate acrylic. Um, and I had to teach a class where we had to use it because they wouldn't let me use oil paint on campus because for whatever reason the program doesn't have the facilities for it. And so um so um yeah, so I had to use it in this class, and I did a couple of demos in there. One of them I think came off really well. The other one I never quite finished. Maybe I should sit down and just finish that one. It would take some work to do that, but I did this one I really liked. And I was like, maybe I should think about this. And I was thinking, maybe the reason I didn't like acrylic painting back as a student was that I just wasn't very good at painting. And then when I was moved over to these other paint types, including digital painting, even though that was still relatively new, 24, well, I guess it's like 24 years ago now when I started that, because that's when I was in the middle of school. And I was largely self-taught with it, but because, professors were all traditional illustrators, which is fine. I think it's probably better. But, but, so I thought about like, maybe I should do a bunch of acrylic paintings, 'cause I kind of, nothing wrong with digital painting, but I kind of gotten tired of it. And, if I've done an X number of digital paintings over the years, and how many more do I really need to do? I'd rather just work in real media as much as possible. So I thought I'd spend, a bunch of the morning, like what I call my morning studies, working on these acrylic pieces. And then these ones in particular, they don't have like a real story behind them. So I've done it. If you go back and look through my like YouTube live stream feed, because they don't throw stuff out like Twitch does. Um, I've done a handful of these this semester, just working on them in the morning. So I spend do them all live 100% of the time, and from start to finish. And they've been taking around 24 to 25 hours to complete, except for the most simple one, which is like this fungus robot thing. But um, and so I kind of know how long they actually take to do so far. Hopefully, a little bit faster. Like this one, I think is coming along a little faster. But I think 24 hours isn't bad. Like 3 days of focused. Well, it'd probably go a little bit faster if it was the only thing I was doing all day long. So since it's acrylic, it dries so fast. All right. So, yeah, so that's what I've been doing in the morning is these. In the past, I've done like sketching and other, sketching different topics that I maybe would like better. Um, oh, well, appreciate the compliment. That's very kind of you to say so. Yeah, again, I've been doing art a long time. I've actually been streaming for a while too, but I think I need to put together a more interesting show than like chill art stream. Um, but if I wanted to get more people watching it. I think I'm doing this now. So I've got a bunch of reference in front of me on my iPad using an app called mixREF, which is like a PureRef app on the desktop. It doesn't do everything that the desktop one does, but it's good. I like it. It's fine. It's just a flip images. You can't like trans. There's kind of weird things that you can do in the other one that you can't do on this iPad version, like I think adding text and other things like notes. But it does, like, show pictures in a little movable page format thing. Um, yeah, I had a post go viral recently on Instagram, and I don't know why. I was doing a series of like quickish morning studies. So before I was doing these compositions, I did a bunch of like paint studies from Pinterest. And one of them I was doing is I was painting like the figures or the main subjects in the foreground of the, like, scattered across like three at a time, and then I would fill in the gaps. And so that's all I was doing. Is I was just like grabbing random things or things I thought would be interesting or useful to paint, and then um, so I was doing that, and then I had this figure I'd done. It was wearing like um, speedo, underwear or whatever, and it's the back view of him. And so I taped him over so I wouldn't accidentally paint over him while I was working. And then I painted around him like this tree. Oh. Oh yeah. Well, I'll have to try that. I have a semi schedule. Like I come on in the morning. Sometimes it's a little bit earlier. Sometimes it's a little bit later. Like I got on a little bit earlier today, which I think I would rather do. I wake up pretty early in the morning to get my dog out for his WALK. He's sleeping over there on the side. He's got two beds in this room, so I think he's deprived. But um, yeah, so I need to do that, but it's like, I just need to, because I always get up pretty early, but I sometimes get up here and start painting at 8, sometimes at 7, sometimes at 6:30. I think I probably just need to make a decision on a schedule. Um, Yeah, and I don't mind talking about the things that I'm doing or teaching about the things that I do. I actually really enjoy that. So I feel like I have some things worth sharing. So yeah, but I should definitely do that. I just well, like last week I didn't stream at all. I got COVID last week, and so I was just like, I'm not doing anything. Which I did rebuild my website, rainlandstudios.com. I put in some of the resources that I've been work using for sale in the shop up there. Um, some comic templates. I've been working on a comic book, and I made my own templates because I just wasn't happy with the ones that I could find, and I wanted to print it out on my own paper. And then some digital brushes I made for an application I really like. Actually, I put a whole little demo video up there too on why I like the app I use more than the popular ones. Um, so people really like, Clip Studio or Procreate on the iPad, and I'm like, I like Infinite Painter the most. Um, um, Yeah, so maybe I'll try that. I need to sit down and say, hey, every morning I get up at about 5 anyway. Get the dog out for his W. Get back here by 5:30 or so, and rather than like sitting down and reading something for half an hour or an hour or whatever, come up here and just get to work by 6 or something. It's very early for the U.S., but just commit to that, or 7 a.m. or whatever, if that's easier for me. I don't mind coming on during the day as well, but that's a bit more random when I'm trying to like figure out what I'm doing. But I do suppose that would actually help, right? So yeah, I'll have to try that. Um, but yeah, I put a video up there on the sales page to talk about like why I like um, Infinite Painter over other painting applications. There's a lot of unique things that other ones simply don't do, and oh yeah, I always have to spell it. Well, have a good one. Thank you for coming in, chatting up, and giving me your thoughts. I always appreciate helpful feedback. Um, and I will definitely look into that. I need to just like make a decision about that and go with it. It's not a big deal. It's just like I feel like well, summer soon, right? Summer break, so that should make my schedule like way easier to deal with. I mean, it's not hard to deal with now, um, but definitely have a lot more time coming up soon. Yeah, let your friends know, and you know that will I guess help it out. Ah, water. Good morning. There we go. Let's see. How are we doing for time? An hour 12? All right, I got 45 more minutes. There we go. Let's see. All right. Let's see. All right. Slurp of coffee over here. Ah. All right. Get them this vine up here too, painted. Trying to bring the whole foreground up to a certain level. And then we'll kind of rework everything, probably back to front again. I'm saying I moved that guy's head up there. So put that stuff there. Good morning. Good morning. All right, I need to get a line on here. Let's see, that's something I can score this with. Maybe this would be good to score with. Just to make my life a little bit simpler. Wasn't the effect I was looking for, but you know. I'll use a pencil. There you are. So, there we go. There we go. How are we doing for time? 1:30, huh? Let's just check something out over here. All right. Let's get some stuff on there. Good morning. All right, that feels much better. All right. All right. Okay, 137. Okay, we're doing good. Let's see. I've been cleaning up a bunch of stuff today to kind of get ready for final polishes. So I guess I could paint in between some of this stuff here. Good morning. All right, let's see. Good morning. All right. Good morning. How are we doing? 1:43. All right, so 15 minutes or so to stay on. Good morning. Hmm. I appreciate that. All right. So I've been kind of going through cleaning things up a lot today. Um, So I kind of did a big paint over the background, and then I worked on the figure last time. And so I've just been kind of going over untouched areas to make sure I'm kind of ready to launch and finish. So we have officially achieved what I would call full blown ugly phase. But it's kind of a phase I always have to go through in order to get where I want to go. And um, kind of gets all my ducks in a row, as it were. Good morning. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been last time I focused on the figure areas mostly, and then today I've been working on everything around that in the foreground. And that's kind of where trying to put my time today. I always like when I sit down to work, I like to have like a specific goal to achieve rather than I'm going to work on this, I'm going to work this particular spec for a certain amount of time. Which I want to score this up too. Let's see, where's that pencil at? One of my little tricks I like to do, I've discovered to do on this type of medium is if I can score the paper, so put a little mark in it that embedded in the surface with a pencil. I can always erase the pencil out. It helps to have the line there for now. But basically, I could score the paper, and that creates almost like a little bit of surface area that's been indented, and I can kind of use that as a guide while I'm drawing. I don't know if that's cheating or not, but I found it to be really useful a few times. So I'm like, I should start using that as a technique because the brush will kind of pause on that edge. So I've been doing that with this. There we go. So that's my new little thing that I'm trying out with this is creating those little score marks to help me out. So now when I go to paint on the top edge of this knife, the brush kind of feels that edge up. A most memorable piece. I'm always mostly really looking forward to the next thing. Yeah, I've been really enjoying doing these acrylic pieces. Because again, I haven't really done that much with acrylic for a very, very long time. Um, so I'm kind of mostly just excited about what I'm going to be doing in these now. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at with this particular kind of thing. Like again, I haven't really done a lot of acrylic painting until recently. Um, but kind of what's on the docket next is starting to do some concept pieces a la Ralph McQuarrie or Doug Chang, that type of thing. I'll probably start with like a medium-sized ones, but take some of the key moments from my comic I'm working on and do those. So in terms of memorable stuff, like I have like big projects I've done in the past that I remember. Like I did a mural for a gas station, 20 years ago now. They've stopped using it since then, but I think they've been replacing it too gradually with photos of all things, which is kind of dumb. But I think it was more exciting to have an illustration than photographs on there. But whatever. Even if it wasn't mine, it was somebody else's. But that was pretty. It was 144 feet long, 14 feet tall, and back then it took like 2 hours to open and save every single day. So, but I'm excited about those other pieces I got coming up. Honestly, I'm enjoying these ones too. I mean, I've probably got another 5 to 8 sessions left on this. Um, and I've done some oil paintings I really like, but they're not really like illustration pieces. Let's see. Do I take notes about a piece? What do you mean, like when I'm working on it? Do I make notes about things I want to do? Um, is that what you mean? Um, so what I'll do is, as I'm finishing a piece, is I'll often do a sketch of it, like a thumbnail sketch, and this helps me finish artwork, uh, kind of in a more objective, structured way. But basically, I'll do a little sketch, like a little thumbnail drawing, and then I will look at my project I'm working on, and I'll say, what are like 3 to 5 things that stick out to me now? And I'll mark those on the thumbnail, or make a list next to it and have arrows go into it, or that kind of thing. and then I'll fix those things. I won't worry about anything else than those 3 to 5 things. I will fix them first. And so that's how I'll take notes a lot of times. Is I just that's what they're for. Because writing it down and verbally kind of makes it more, or marking it off visually makes it more real for me to fix. Ah. So that's what I like to do for my notes when I'm working on something. Um, so thanks for the follow. Biggest inspiration in illustration or in general. So my favorite illustrators go back to what we call the golden age of American illustration in general in Europe. But so like Howard Pyle is a really big influence. He's someone whose work I really pay attention to. Um, and, and his students, especially people like N.C. Wyeth or Dean Cornwell. Um, like I look to those people. I go back to them over and over again. Like they're the well that I think is. But that's what I really like to look at, those people, and I see a lot of people that influenced by them, um, whether they're aware of it or not. But should be aware. But I also like a lot of modern ones. I like Donato Giancola a lot. He's I think my favorite living illustrator. If I had to pick one, um, so that's like in terms of illustration. Those are my biggest ones. Um, I also like a lot of painters. So there's a group of painters, and they all were teaching at the grad school I went to, which is why I went there. I didn't go there to be a teacher. I went there to uh, study with these painters specifically. So people like Stephen Assail, Vincent Desiderio, Margaret Boland, Nicola Verlato. There's a whole stable of them and more. Peter Drake, who's the provost there. Um, like I went there specifically to work with those people, and got a lot out of the experience, along with some debt, which is gone now, but which I'm grateful for. But they, but I went there to study with those people in particular. There's other ones there whose names are slipping my mind at the moment, um, but definitely got a lot out of them, and it was an opportunity for me to really kind of work with them very closely and meaningful. Wade Schumann, of course, who's there. He's good. He doesn't paint as much as he used to, but I liked his paintings before. He got big into music. But Yeah, so those are some people that I really like. Um, especially among living painters. Dead painters, of course, I love all the Baroque popular guys: Velasquez, Rembrandt, um, um, where's my brain at the moment? Vermeer and um, all those guys. The big ones, but Caravaggio, etc. Like I love the intensity that they bring. In comics, I was very influenced early on by a lot of the what became the Image people, but the X-Men people at the time when I first started reading them. I like those guys a lot. What's the most common issue? Like a problem or um oh, Travis Charest, of course, everybody loves him. There's a lot of people I like too, like Daniel Warren Johnson and those guys. But like problem hurdle obstacle. I think for me, and I think this is almost universally true of artists, is I think it's the business side. It's one thing to like I was talking about this I think in here before, these three categories of kind of where an artist needs to pursue their excellence. And I think the third category, because it's not as much fun obviously as an artist. um so there's foundations, right, which is like your basic skills. Then there's your expression, which is like the things that you are, your ability to use your mediums. But the third category, I think, is where I run into problems. I think it's where most artists run into problems, which is presentation. So putting your work out into the world in a way that uh, makes your work visible to people. And so that's like your marketing, and it's your outreach, it's your networking, um, it's your pursuit of clients and customers, an audience. I think that's where I have always had trouble. Maybe it's delusional, but that's where I look around and I say, I see that's where artists have a problem is, how do you take all these skills and interests and all of that and then put in front of people in a meaningful way. And artists that are really good at that, who are also very good at their craft, um, also do really well. That care about their craft and all that. And I think that's the biggest problem artists often have. Um, that I've had. There's been problems like being able to get access to information, but that's like I think the biggest problem for young artists now is they actually have access to too much information in a way that makes it hard to know what to pay attention to. Um, I think that's a big problem for a lot of artists now. Is like, in addition to like, there's more opportunities to be seen, right? With social media, like, it's like a free platform for everybody to use. It's not that they're perfect platforms or anything, but they um, so like there's more ways of doing that today, but it is very distracting and can be time consuming. Um, um, yeah, so I think that's always been the big challenge for me is the other maybe area that's like less universal, maybe it's universal too, but is kind of knowing what I want to do. And I've explored a lot of paths in art, fine art, illustration, concept art, some production art even for some games back then when I was a long time ago. Teaching obviously has been a big part of my uh, professional career. Um, and so I think kind of being wanting to know exactly what I want to do has always been hard. And then the other problem with that is that the art market itself is always in flux. And so like we look at what's going on with generative AI at the moment, which I think will pass in a certain way. I think it'll always be around in certain ways, but I think it'll pass in terms of it'll wash out a lot of things that shouldn't be there. But like it's exposed a lot of artists, who don't actually being artists for some reason. You know, like I spotted a big shot artist, concept artist who I respected, was doing judging for some AI contest. I won't say who it is, but I was just like, that's disappointing. Like, what are you doing? Uh, but but yeah, but I think the AI thing is definitely a problem. But I think for me, like, it's always just been a bigger issue of what I want to do because I like doing so many things. So that's partially where this comic book project is coming from. Like, I look at all the things I'm doing. Like, I like landscape painting and I like figure drawing and painting. I like story pictures. I like digital. I do digital to a certain degree, not as much as before, but I like it still. It's fine. Um, I like all these things. And I'm like, well, what if? Because a long time ago, I went to a gallery and they wanted to see my work, and my website at the time was a hodgepodge of everything I was doing. So it was like tonal landscape paintings. It was robots and monsters. It was illustrations, crazy stuff going on in them. And it was just a mess, right? It was completely confusing. And so I went home that day and I reworked my entire website to put the fine art stuff at the front. And then I had like a back end view of the concept stuff so I could still send that to people. I only had the one site at the time. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, well, what if I had leaned into bringing all of that together rather than separating it? And that's kind of part of where the comic project I'm working on is being birthed from, is me looking at all the things that do interest me, sincerely and honestly, that I like spending time on. What if I just kind of mix them all together rather than separating them? So, but yeah, I think those are the big challenges. One is marketing. One is kind of knowing exactly what you want to do. And in markets that are always in flux, like what you want to do can be better or worse at different times. Um, but I think those are the big ones. It's kind of because if you like doing lots of things, it can be hard to really knuckle down and invest in one. Oh, a ton of books have helped me out. So there's questions here. One of them is big ones were like the Loomis books early on. Well, I couldn't get physical copies back then because you could only get them used and they were very expensive collector's items. So I had PDFs of them that were available online. I've since picked up, I think, all of them or most of them because they started republishing them, I don't know, 10-ish years ago. So I started getting them. But those were a big influence, and I think most, if not all, of everything in there is still relevant today. Um, George Bridgman's figure drawing guides, the small and big ones, those are a big deal for me. Um, so nothing too. I love Gurney's books, of course. His imaginative realism, especially color and light's really good too. Um, Framed Ink has been a really interesting read. Another book I really like is what's the full name? It's by Betty Edwards. Not Betty. Well, Betty Edwards was actually a big one too. But How to Draw on the Right Side of Your Brain as a kid, as a student in high school, when we learned to see how to draw spatially. I am thinking of, oh no, what's her name? It's downstairs. Let's see if I can find it over here. Let's see. Amazon. I bought it on here. Shopping. If I can find it. Can't I remember the name of it? Art books. Might be faster just to go downstairs to see it. No. Let me go a little further back. Alright, there's that. I didn't know I bought those online. No. Well, Skillful Huntsman, there's a big one. I would like that book a lot. Skillful Huntsman. Let's see. No. These are like books I bought when I was in Hong Kong. Interesting. Maybe I didn't buy this one on Amazon. Just the original version. It's a really good book, but I can't remember the name of it. I have it downstairs, so I don't have it up here. Let's see that. I bought the new edition not too long ago, so that's why I'm confused. Why I don't see it here. Well, I don't remember it off the top of my head. But that's a pretty good list, I think, of books. There's Goldfinger's Human Anatomy book, which is a pretty intense book on human anatomy. It's like It's a interesting book because it's photographs of person posing in a way that flexes the muscle, and then there's a diagram next to it that shows its insertion and attachment points, along with how it fits in context with other muscles. Career oriented, what would I say? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because, again, like the art market's changed so much. I do kind of wish I'd pursued comics earlier. I kind of started a little bit, like as a teenager, messing around with it, but then I kind of got. Actually, maybe that's the advice would be good. Is when I was looking at comics as a thing. As a kid, I looked up what they got paid, and I didn't realize that there was this thing called royalties, where you get paid extra if things sell really, really well. So I didn't recognize that the comic book artists who I really liked were actually selling like millions of copies. I had no idea that that was the case because I was just, a small town kid, no internet, walking or biking down to my comic shop periodically every week to grab stuff. So when I saw how little that they made per page, it kind of made me think that I should not pursue that, not realizing that they got paid a whole lot more than that on the back end. So the page rate they received was a advance on royalties, and I think because of that, I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. It doesn't really make any sense. It's not that comic book people become super wealthy for the most part, or or even stable. There's a lot of people that aren't, but I didn't know anything about that, and the concern for me at the time was, well, it's money, right? So it's like, oh, well, I want to make a living as an artist. What does that mean? I didn't really have any other too many examples in my life as a teenager. Like there was a guy in my neighborhood who was an illustrator, but he worked like in illustration and film and a bunch of other things. And I kind of looked at him to a certain degree what he was doing. Not entirely because there's a lot of kind of really boring stuff, but I saw that kind of as being a more viable thing because that's what he did, all day long. just making illustrations that way. Um, but I kind of wish, in retrospect, that I hadn't worried about where the money was going to come from. Because I look at artists who are successful, and they do all kinds of things. They're not just focused on a career path that is known to be viable, right? So like it's like they're not if you go work for DreamWorks doing animation or Disney or whoever, Blue Sky when they existed, that's actually a good example of this. But people tend to treat the full-time job as stable in art. So whether that's working as a graphic designer at a studio or a motion designer or an animator or a concept artist or a 3D modeler, they tend to treat that job as if it is a long-term commitment that they can rely on, rather than kind of betting on themselves and the audience that they can derive, especially today. Harder back then, but especially today, where you can find an audience almost just by accident. So instead of betting on themselves, they become dependent on these corporate structures to define their creativity and their value and ability in life, when the evidence for that actually being stable is not very good. Right? We've seen a ton of firings in entertainment arts over the last couple of years because they overhired, I think, partially. Some people are blaming AI, which I don't really think is that big of an influence in the reduction to a certain degree. Some degree, yeah, but not entirely. But um, but I kind of wish I'd been aware of that things and how the art business actually worked, and had bet on myself in certain ways that I just wasn't aware was possible. And I think that's what really matters most. I mean, obviously, things like developing your skills and a portfolio and learning to communicate and the marketing thing that I mentioned. I didn't know anything about any of that. And I had to kind of learn it on my own to a certain degree. So yeah, that would be the big thing, was like, if there's something you want to do, there's probably a way to do it. And if you're not certain what that is, then it's worth trying out things until you kind of figure that out. But if there's things you care about, you spend a lot of time and resources on, that's usually a good indicator of what you care about. And that if you're willing to spend time and resources on something, there's probably other people that are too. And you only need so many people to be your customers and your followers and who are actually interested in what you do and willing to pay for it. Um, and it can take some work to put that group of people together, but if you can find people that like what you do and want to support it, um, and you're awesome at supporting their interest, then you can build something really great. And there's plenty of examples of those people out there. So kind of being aware of that would probably be my major advice, is that if there's something you really want to do, you can probably find other people that would be interested in joining you on that journey. Um, so that would be because you take, everyone develops their skills at different rates. That everybody has specific kind of challenges that they deal with. Um, but yeah, and again, the problem I ran into with that is that obviously a lot of professors and art teachers I had, like that particular aspect just didn't interest them very much, and so they really weren't able to teach me anything about it. Yeah, of course. Hopefully, that helped with your assignment. Um, yeah, again, it's like really common issue in school, right? It's like a lot of professors, like, they don't have a lot of interest in the business side of things, so they don't know anything about it. Why would they, right? And I'm an oddity that I do freaks people out sometimes, I think. But I think it matters a lot. It matters to our students and all of that. Oh, 2 hours, 21 minutes. So yeah, if you're done with your questions, that's great. Hopefully that helps with your assignment. And I should probably move on to something else this morning, huh? So it is almost 9. I've been at it for 2 hours, 20 minutes. Oh, I'll check over there. It's curious. Probably just me. So yeah, is that everything for you? You got anything else you need to ask? I think what I'm gonna do tomorrow. So tomorrow, probably work on these guys a little bit here, a little bit more, and then start working on her. Oh yeah. All right. Well, have a good one. Good luck with your watercolor pen. Hopefully, you've got some good summer plans for improving your work. That's coming up soon, right? End of semester is almost here. So anyway, have a good one, and we'll talk to you all later.